Alright, what is up everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Now before we get into today's Q&A video, I want to mention a quick announcement. So next week on Thursday, May 4th, I'm heading out to London to host a clinic, which is going to be totally awesome. Basically, I'm heading there for a mini vacation in the beginning, but I figured, I know a lot of you guys are in London and the areas around, so I figured while I'm there, it would be a shame not to organize something drum related. So if you're in London or the areas around, I would love to see you there. It's at 6 p.m. at Bell Percussion in London. I'll leave a link to the Facebook event right up there so you can check out all the details. But basically, if you're around, please do come out and we'll have a good time and just chat and talk drums for a couple of hours. So I would love to see you there. But also I want to mention really quick that you might have noticed that I haven't posted that much recently, and that's because I'm in the mode right now where I'm planning a lot of stuff, and you'll see pretty soon I'll drop a pretty major announcement, which is going to be totally awesome. It will all make sense when I drop that announcement. You'll see why I'm kind of busy doing other stuff right now. But I'll get back into making pretty regular content again pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said and done, let's get into today's Q&A video.
What hand and feet dynamics exercise would you recommend for intermediate or advanced drummers?
So when it comes to exercises, my approach has always been to create your own exercises. It's a fun, creative process to do that, and it also makes more sense, because if you get an exercise from someone else, that's probably an exercise that they came up with to pinpoint a specific weakness in their playing. So it makes more sense for you to do that for yourself as well. So figure out what you want to work on, and in this case, if it's dynamics, then try to take things you already know. For example, if you know the paradiddle, you know double strokes, you know single strokes, try putting all of those three together in an exercise, and you decide how many bars or what BPM or whatever it is, and you decide the structure, because in the end that's going to make it more fun for you to work with, because it feels personal. You know that it's created to work for your needs. So it's going to be easier, and it's going to make more sense to create your own exercises, because they will help you pinpoint and straighten out your weaknesses better than any exercise you'll get from someone else. Of course, do take inspiration from other people on how they do exercises, but generally I would advise create your own and don't really copy other people's exercises. And me personally, I don't really use exercises all that much, so I don't really, even if I wanted to, I don't even have that many exercises to give you to work with. But that's the best advice I could give you. Just try to figure out your own exercises, and they're going to be a lot more fun, and you'll stick to them a lot longer.
Any advice for practicing sextuplets and 30-second notes?
So when it comes to practicing subdivisions, in general, I think the first thing you have to do is start with the knowledge. You have to understand, what do these different subdivisions mean? And subdivisions in general, they pretty much do one thing. They tell you how many strokes you have to work with for every quarter note downbeat. So every downbeat, and the quarter note downbeat, that's the pulse of the music or whatever. So if you have a pulse like this, and you want to play sextuplets, that basically means you have 6 strokes per downbeat. So every time you play one of these downbeats, you can play 6 strokes, and that will equal to 16 triplets or sextuplets. So for example, this is your downbeat. You want to play sextuplets, 6 strokes. Sounds like that. Or if you want to play 30-second notes, you have 8 strokes to work with instead per downbeat. So that's 8th notes. You only have 2 strokes per downbeat. And quintuplets, that's 5. So on and so forth. That's basically how subdivisions work. So with that in mind, I would say kind of the same answer as the last question, sorry, but that's kind of my approach, is that you have to create your own exercise. So figure out different patterns, figure out different rudiments and stuff that you could apply this to, and try to figure out different ways, different creative ways that actually make sense in your play style to apply these different things in these different subdivisions. But like I said, start with the knowledge, start with being 100% sure of how many strokes you have to work with per downbeat, then set the metronome and get to work.
I'm currently saving for my first kit, and in your opinion, do you think it's better to get a beginner set, or should I save for a little longer and buy a more intermediate level kit?
Alright, so the short answer to this question would be definitely try to look for used kits of a higher level, because those will stick with you for a longer time. It will feel better for you to develop on a kit that's of a higher level, because if you buy a brand new kit, even if it's a brand spanking beautiful new kit, if it's a beginner standard, after a couple of years or whatever, when you start getting better, those drums will really not feel that good for you to play on, if that makes sense. So buy a higher level kit and look to buy used, and buy a kit that will stick with you for a long time, and it will make sense for you to play on even when you start to get really good at the instrument. I'm pretty anti-beginner gear in general. I think you should always try to buy better stuff that will stick with you for a longer time. But with that said, that's the short answer. With that said, I will also try to prioritize cymbals over drums. That's my main, that's always been my idea of how I want to invest. Same thing here, I have a lot of cymbals that are pretty expensive, and my drum kit is kind of, it's not that expensive really. It's like a Thomas Superstar Hyperdrive Birch kit. It's $1,300–$1,400 brand new, so it's not like a super high level kit. But when it comes to cymbals, like when you buy a cymbal, you can't really change it. You get what you buy. So if you buy a really cheap cymbal, that's gonna keep a cheap sound forever. You're not gonna be able to make that into a really good cymbal. So with cymbals, it's kind of like holy ground for me. I would say buy cymbals first, prioritize cymbals that are really good, because with a kit you can put brand new heads on it. If you know what you're doing, you can tune it. You can still get a really nice sound out of a really cheap kit if you know what you're doing. So invest in high quality cymbals, invest in some knowledge when it comes to tuning and that kind of stuff. And as I said, try to prioritize finding a used higher level kit instead of buying a brand new intermediate or beginner kit. That's how I would do it, at least.
If you could go back in time and change one thing about the way you started learning drums, for example, which hand you led with, what would it be?
That's a really great question. And the one thing I would probably change if I could is how I started when it comes to grip. Because like I've pretty much always had a tendency to hold really far down on the stick, so I have a tendency, my pinky wouldn't even touch the stick. I would hold it like this, and I wouldn't have that much to bounce to work with, and I would drop the sticks, that kind of stuff. So like the last year or so, I really tried to focus on that, tried to get my grip a little bit further up, a more relaxed, balanced grip. But that when it comes to grip and that kind of stuff, and posture and grip and all that kind of fundamental kind of stuff, it's really hard to relearn that when you've done it one way for a couple of years, So me, having played almost 8 years now, the first 6 or 7 years, I've always done it the same way. So imagine having done that same thing every day for 6 years, and then suddenly you have to try to change it. Like, it takes a lot more time than if you would just get good, do it the right way from the beginning. So for me, that would really be the grip. I would really want to have played like this from the beginning instead of playing like this. So if any of you guys find yourself guilty of doing this and you're kind of recently starting out, definitely try to move your grip up a bit. You will have a lot more control and a lot easier time to move around the kit more flexibly. So that's my answer to that. Really good question.
Kind of a personal opinion question about gear, but you're in a setting where you can have a setup with only hi-hats, 2 crashes, or 1 crash and 1 effect cymbal, and a ride for a gig that involves playing a variety of different styles. Which cymbals do you choose? In other words, what's the most versatile cymbal setup that fits the sound you're looking for?
That's another great question, and as you said, it's kind of a personal thing. Like, my optimal setup might sound terrible to someone else, but if I could pick one pair of hi-hats, 2 crashes, and I don't really use effect crashes that much, so I would probably pick 2 more, standard crashes, and a ride for a gig that I would be able to play that for anything, I would probably pick these hi-hats. These are the Meinl 16-inch extra dry medium thin hi-hats. These are super versatile, work for pretty much everything. I absolutely love them. They're my favorite pair of hats in existence. So any day of the week I would pick these in that kind of setup. As for crash, probably this one too, the Bison 18-inch extra dry dual crash. Another one of my all-time favorite cymbals. Works for everything. It just sounds awesome. As for the other crash, I would probably pick either this one, because as you can see, I kind of already do that in my setup. I love to have very versatile cymbals in my setup. So either this one, which is the Bison's 19-inch extra dry thin crash, either this one or the 20-inch, or the 20-inch traditional extra thin hammered crash. On right side crash, I would like. I'm really not decided. I haven't really decided exactly what my favorite right side crash is. But maybe, just for the sake of picking one, let's say the 20-inch traditional extra thin hammered crash on the right side crash. And as for a ride, probably the, what's it called? It's a ride I don't have, but I really like the sound of it. It's the 22-inch Bison's Dark Raw Bell ride. 22-inch Bison's Dark Raw Bell ride. It's an amazing all-around ride that would work for pretty much everything. So that's the setup I would go with. That would get you through almost any gig. And it's just a really killer all-around setup. I especially recommend these hi-hats, the 16-inch Bison's extra dry medium thin hi-hats. They work for pretty much everything, and they're my all-time favorite hi-hats in existence. You should definitely check them out.
What's your opinion on rap/hip-hop music?
It's not the kind of music that I listen to, but I do respect it for what it is. Especially, like, I guess when I was a bit younger, I used to listen to a lot of hip-hop and stuff. Never really got into rap. And these days I don't really listen to any of it, but I know also that rap and hip-hop and those kind of genres in general are really fun to play drums to. That's something I do every now and then, like I'll put on some rap or hip-hop music and just kind of jam to that. It really helps you focus on your pocket playing. It's just a lot of fun to play with. There's a lot of space for you to mess around. But when it comes to listening to it, like, not really. I'm more of kind of a progressive kind of music, like, a lot of jazz and metal and fusion and that kind of stuff. Mostly actually kind of progressive metal. So it's not something I listen to every day, but I do really respect it for what it is.
What do you think about open-handed playing? Also, have you heard of Claus Hessler? He's incredible.
I think open-handed playing is awesome. Like, I wish I could play open-handed. As soon as I try it, I sound like I just started playing. You know, my mind just kind of tries to flip things back and forth, and it just sounds terrible when I do it. But I don't know if you guys that are drum teachers, if you run into this, but I know that a lot of the new students that I have, when they start playing, like, it feels more, even if they're right-handed, it feels more natural to them to just play open-handed. Because, you know, this kind of crossover thing is really weird to a lot of people in the beginning. And if I have a student that's, you know, they don't want to do this, they're like, I want to play like this, then, you know, I won't stop them from doing that. I won't stop them from playing open-handed. Because later down the road, if you're still a right-handed player and you start playing open-handed, later down the road, that will kind of make you ambidextrous. You know, in the end, you're still right-handed, so you still have a lot of strength and, you know, flexibility with using your right hand. But since you started with more of a left-hand lead, that will open up a lot of doors for you. So I don't know if any of you guys teach students and you run into this. Let me know, because I don't know if it's something that I just keep running into, but I have a lot of students that kind of almost refuse to play like this. Like, they really want to play open-handed. But it's really cool. It opens up a lot of doors. So I would love to be able to play like that. When it comes to Claus Hessler, he's really awesome. Like, he's one of those drummers that I've seen a couple of videos, and he always blows me away. Like, I can't even start to comprehend what he's doing. But for some reason, I always forget to, like, look into him more. I have to go. This reminded me again. I have to look him up more and look into some more videos, because he just blows me away every time. For some reason, I just keep pushing up to actually look at what he's like, who he is, and get more invested into him. But he's an awesome drummer, and thanks for a great question about the open-handed playing.
Hello, I'm addicted to drums for nearly 2 years, and I'm struggling buying a kit because out there in my country, Georgia, it's quite hard to find decent drums for a decent price. If I order from the US or Europe, the shipping and other stuff would cost thousands of dollars. Any advice? Thanks and best of luck.
One site that I would really recommend you look into is Thomann, or however you pronounce it. Thomann, I'll write it somewhere here. Thomann.de. It's a German, like, cyber store. They have pretty much anything you can come up with that's vaguely related to music. They have it in stock. Like, they have everything. And from what I can remember, I've never personally bought a kit from there, but from what I can remember, just looking around, I think they have a really good policy for shipping kits. Like, they don't have, I don't even know if they add anything to the shipping to send a kit, unless it's like a really big kit. I'm not 100% sure, but I do remember they have a pretty good policy for that. So I would look into that and see if hopefully you can pick something up there. They also have really competitive prices. Overall, really great website that if there's something I can't really find here in Sweden, I would always buy it from Thomann. It's like, I've probably bought more stuff from them than from anywhere else. So Thomann.de, I would definitely look into that if I was you. Alright, so that will wrap it up for today's Q&A video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as I said, if you're in London or the area around, I would love to see you at the clinic next week, 6 p.m. on Thursday, May 4th, in the Red Room at Bell Percussion in London. So the link to the Facebook event is right up there. Hope to see you all there. But until next video, guys, take care and stay tuned for this major announcement coming up. It's going to be really cool. I'm super excited to share it with you all. So take care, and I'll see you again soon with some more videos.